I've been out here about an hour, 20 minutes, and I haven't seen another soul yet so far, so I think the scope of what I am embarking on is kind of starting to set in a little bit. It's one of those things that definitely does not feel real until you're actually out there doing it. So here I am doing it. See how it goes. Well, I just saw my first humans of the trail, and the very first thing they said to me was, "You look like you know what you're doing." So that was encouraging, given that in some sense I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. But hopefully I find out along the way. It bears mentioning that I mainly mean no idea what I'm doing in an existential sense. I have a fair bit of backpacking know-how, but what I'm doing with my life, that is a bit of a different story. And that story is kind of the whole reason that I'm hiking the long trail, but more on that later. Well, in some sense, this is where the journey truly begins. I'm done with the approach trail and I'm officially starting the Vermont Long Trail. The Long Trail is the oldest long-distance hiking trail in the United States and is said to have inspired the Appalachian Trail. Here we go, 273 miles to Canada. That's a nice boulder. Alrighty, it's day one and I'm in camp. I got here about 3 hours earlier than my dad predicted, so take that, Bobby. I feel too awkward blogging this out loud because there are other people here, but I am having serious doubts about coming to do this solo. I miss my boyfriend and my dog. Everyone else starting today at this shelter is here with other people. I feel very alone. It's going to be a long walk to Canada if this doesn't get any easier. Alrighty, it's day 2 in the Green Tunnel. I'm feeling definitely a renewed sense of optimism today, although my lower back would currently beg to differ. Last night was pretty tough, mentally mainly. I was just feeling incredibly uncertain. Things so far have been going pretty smoothly. I got really lucky with great weather yesterday on day 1. I didn't forget anything that I need as far as I know. Feeling better today. We'll see what the day holds. Also, man, I am from Vermont originally. I grew up here. But I've been living on the West Coast in a dry area for past 5-6 years. And holy crap, I'm not used to the humidity. I feel like I need a snorkel out here. I paused for a second at a very beautiful, very blustery viewpoint, and I'm catching up with my folks and my boyfriend. There's a huge beaver dam behind me there, if you can see it. Pretty wild. One of the biggest I've seen. Just passed over Harmon Hill. It's probably my favorite stretch of trail so far in the long day and a half that I've been out here already. It feels very, very classic Vermont. Reminds me of my childhood. Beautiful, open, what I presume used to be pasture land. Very beautiful. Day 3 on trail. Another cool little view. There's the town of Bennington there behind me, where I used to have soccer games sometimes. I'm sure we got crushed. Alrighty, got a bit of a moderate stretch here, so figure I'll do a little spiel on who I am and why the heck I'm out here doing this. My name is Anna. I'm close to 28 years old. Grew up right here in Vermont. Lived here my whole life until I went away to college, and then after college I moved to the West Coast. I've been living in Washington State for 5 or 6 years now. One of the main reasons for coming out here is just because I've been missing Vermont. It's just holds an incredibly special place in my heart, and I thought, well, what better way to really reconnect with my home state than going on a pretty epic adventure, walking the length of the entire state from Massachusetts, Canada. Another big reason is that I've just been feeling a bit stuck in life lately. I actually recently quit my job, trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing next, and part of this is trying to do a little self-discovery and really consider what I actually want to do, instead of just going back home at the end and kind of taking whatever opportunity comes along first. Another big thing is just to reconnect with myself a little bit and get some solitude. There was a lot contributing to the feeling of being stuck. I tore my ACL skiing the previous March and was consequently sporting a massive metal brace on the trail. I was burned out at work and felt like I was falling behind my peers. My town was surrounded by raging forest fires the summer before I headed east, and the list goes on. I'm at the top of the Glastonbury Fire Tower right now, and I'm not normally afraid of heights, but this thing is no freaking joke. This is the highest fire tower I've ever been in, and it's windy. It's like, oh, it's a little sketchy actually. The view is sick though. Another day, more ground to cover. I was just up in the fire tower on Glastonbury and I'm headed down now. Definitely a bit of a later start today. I consciously decided to prioritize sleep last night because I did not sleep well the first 2 nights. Things are going pretty smoothly so far. Only one little concern is kind of the arch of my left foot's bugging me, which has never happened before. Which is not great, but it's also not getting worse, so as long as it doesn't get worse, I am not too concerned about it. TBD. Yeah, gonna sign off for now and keep trucking for a bit. Alrighty, day 5 is upon me. I camped by this really beautiful brook last night, really nice spot. However, yesterday on trail ended up being hands down one of the worst, most miserable backpacking days I've ever had. My left foot really started to bug me. I think I mentioned it briefly yesterday and I was like, I hope this doesn't get worse. As long as it stays the same or gets better, it'll be fine. Well, it got worse. It got a lot worse. It felt like when you have a foot cramp, it was like that level of pain every single time I picked my left foot off the ground. It was really starting to stress me out because I was like, this might be something that ends my trip after just 6 days. I might have to call it quits. There's a saying that the trail provides, and while it provided pain, it also provided swift counsel on how to deal with that pain. All in the same day, I met an ultra athlete who told me I had plantar fasciitis. I met 2 wonderful AT thru-hikers who gave me abundant advice on how to deal with it, and I met another young woman who had also torn her ACL, and she told me that braces can cause problems from unconscious compensation, and that she'd decided to ditch hers. After some anxious contemplation, I lashed my brace to my pack and I didn't look back. Well, I got on trail and the pain in my foot was immediate this morning. I thought I would try and make it a little ways without taking Advil, and turned out that a little ways meant about 5 minutes down the trail. Well, folks, just behind me we've encountered the extremely elusive northeastern switchback. While prevalent on the west coast, the northeastern switchback is almost impossible to find. So, when you do come across one, count yourself a lucky chap or chapette. Onwards. Well, I'm on top of the fire tower up on Stratton, and I came from that away yesterday. I'm headed into Manchester today. I took 3 Tylenol this morning, and it did nothing for my foot today. The plantar fasciitis is the worst it's been so far. Every single time I pick my left foot up, it's like agonizing. It's all I can think about. What was the cause of all this pain? It was zero-drop shoes. A word to the wise, don't buy minimalist shoes like I did if you don't actually know what that means. I learned from other hikers that they're notorious for causing tendon problems. It's really painful, it's not a fun time, and I don't want to have to buy new shoes, but I also want to really do this thing and get to Canada, and at this point I think I might literally have to. Well, pretty sure that's where I'm headed this evening. They really just ought to put a zip line on here. There's a saying in thru-hiking, hike your own hike. It basically means do your own thing, as long as you're not negatively impacting other people or the environment. Hike at your own pace, use your preferred gear, have your own experience. It's a good metaphor for life. But unfortunately, just like in daily life, I have a hard time not stressing about how I'm doing relative to others. And with my tendon issue on the trail, I was beginning to feel like everyone around me was moving at light speed. Walking through a beautiful forest of big tall maples at the moment. It's pretty nice moderate walking today. However, the foot is fucking killing me again. Other than that, pretty major caveat, all things are good. I was meeting and leapfrogging with other hikers, but within a day or so I'd always be left behind. It took an alchemy of time and conscious effort to reduce my anxiety about moving slower than most of the other people out there. This moment by a babbling brook was one of the first times I really forced myself to take some time out and not give a damn about the day's pace or mileage. That's when the experience finally started to shift. I was starting to truly be out there for me. The voice in my head at the end of each day telling me that I hadn't gone far enough was starting to get a little quieter. And the voice telling me to appreciate each day for what it was starting to speak up. Another thru-hiking term, hiker trash, refers to the unique culture of smelly clothes, questionable food choices, and general feral demeanor of us long-distance trekkers. My transition to the hiker trash lifestyle went hand in hand with my increased willingness to truly hike my own hike. Whew. It is hot and heavy out here today. I think it's 80-something degrees. I was gonna do a few more pretty low-key moderate days to get myself over Killington, but I was able to check the weather and there's a 70% chance of substantial rain on the day I was gonna go over, and heading down Killington and that sounds like a recipe for absolute disaster. So today and tomorrow I'm basically trying to put in enough miles to shave off an entire day from my I-10. It's pretty. It's just toasty. Onwards and upwards. So the last mile of my 14-mile day is straight up a gully full of massive boulders. Cannot remember the last time I was this sweaty. Well, the cool thing about going straight up 500 feet through a cleft in the mountain on your last mile of a big day is that you get a pretty good view at the top. Sitting here crushing a sausage, cheese, and peanut butter wrap, and then I'm gonna go for the mega day, try to get myself over Killington and down to Route 4. Gonna go for it. Yahoo! It's gonna be like 90 degrees. Well, I just got done being absolutely feral in the Killington Peak Lodge on a Sunday when it's packed with people who rode the gondola up. I've been up there a bunch skiing in the winter, but it's a very different context now, and I feel like I'm not part of the real world anymore. Went in, got some water, felt very out of place. I think a lot of thru-hikers probably don't come up over this way because the AT actually just bypasses the summit. So I'm getting a lot of weird looks. There's a lovely hiking trail on the other side of the mountain. You can also take the gondola up. However, the spur trail down to the AT goes straight down. Absolutely insane. This is what it looks like. Behind me is a very significant spot along the trail. This is called the main junction, and it's where the Appalachian Trail splits from the long trail. It's just past Killington, so from now on, for the rest of the adventure, I'm going to be on the long trail and the long trail alone. The ATers will go this way. They'll head toward Maine, and I'm headed that way, and I'm headed toward Canada. So yeah, it's a big moment because it's gonna mean that I'm not gonna be seeing AT hikers anymore, and I think there might be quite a lot less folks from here on out. Coming off of a 0 day. I actually went home yesterday and the night before to resupply and to hopefully find some new shoes. The day did not really go as planned. Went to the shoe store in my town, couldn't find a singular good option. It was nice being home, but it wasn't the most restful day off. Luckily, my mom saved the day. Thank you, Andrea. In a last-ditch effort, we headed to a shoe store in Rutland right before I headed back on the trail, and I found a passable pair of boots. While they weren't exactly what I was hoping for, I knew that they could still mean the difference between me finishing the LT or not. I wasn't thrilled to have to buy brand new shoes all over again, but my stubbornness and determination were not going to let something like footwear take me out of the woods. Back on the trail, headed north. Going for 15 miles today. Hopefully that isn't foolish with brand new boots on my feet. It's been a pretty beautiful stretch of trail so far this morning. my tendons are giving me way less trouble. So whether that's because of the rest or the new shoes or both, pretty happy about it. I will probably have to take Advil at some point today, but the sheer fact of not having to take it immediately when I get up in the morning just to function is pretty nice. I hope that trend continues. Well, I might as well give a couple updates. At the 2-hour mark this morning, I still have not seen a singular other human being today. There was a gentleman camped behind the shelter last night, but he kept to himself and we barely interacted. And then someone came through with a dog and considered stopping, decided to push on for a bigger day. So I got up before that gentleman this morning, never saw him, and haven't seen any other soul. Just reached a lovely vista point over the Chittenden Reservoir. I wish it was lunchtime, but sadly it is not. Also, just a minute ago, hit the 3-hour mark without seeing a singular other human being. Here's the view. Okay, hour 4, still no humans. Tendons just started putting up a bit of a fuss, so I'm probably going to take Advil soon. Onwards. 5-hour mark, still no humans. It's not so much that I'm concerned about safety, it's more that I'm concerned about going a bit nuts out here. Well, I'm stopped at the David Logan shelter for lunch, and there are, wait for it, no people here. Going on 6 hours today. I think this might be a lesson of sorts because I am very introverted and I tend to believe that I am a-okay with very minimal human interaction. However, 6 hours straight of hiking and not seeing a single other person and just rattling around in my own head, it's challenging. I'm feeling sorry for myself, so I'm gonna eat some chocolate. So every shelter has one of these log books where anybody can write whatever they want in it. One says, from the 22nd, cozy respite after a damp day. Holy moly, cow parsnip though. Watch out. Finally met fellow LT thru-hiker, Ben. Not alone in these woods after all. ... Sophia, LT Nobo. And then right below is Ben's entry. Says, well, technically we met at Kidgore, but I've been an antisocial tenty boy. Glad to have spent my first night in a shelter and gotten to know Sophia a bit. Had this moment coming up from Main Junction, took my headphones out, looked down at Chittenden Reservoir, and was struck by a depth of silence and aloneness not previously encountered on this trail. Just took a second to absorb it. Grateful to be here. Ben, LT, Nobo. Seven-hour mark. Nobody. 8 hours. Still just me out here. It's a lot of walking in your own noggin. So the times that I've been giving have been reflective of the amount of time that I've been on trail today without seeing another person. But if you take into account that I did not see the guy who was camped behind me this morning, and the last that I saw him was around 6 o'clock last night, that means that I am an hour away from not seeing another living human soul in 24 hours. It has been a long time since I've gone that long without seeing another person. Big update, there were people at the shelter last night. Yoop yoop. So it was like, I think literally 10 minutes before the 24-hour mark, I came up to the shelter and there were people there and they were chill. Tendon's feeling fantastic this morning. Super encouraging. I truly didn't expect a change in footwear to make such a quick difference. However, given that I'm doing big miles and brand new boots, I already have a heinous blister on the bottom of my heel. But I've got a pretty big day ahead of me, so I should probably get trucking. Alright, first thing in the morning, just got on the trail like 20 minutes ago, and I've got a view of where I'm going, which is called Mount Horrid, and these, if I can get it to focus, they're called the Horrid Cliffs. Passing through a very beautiful birch forest right now on Mount Horrid, and it's definitely steep, but whoever built the trail was very kind enough to build quite a lot of switchbacks as well, so it's not living up to its name too bad just yet. Well, happened for the first time thus far. Lost the damn trail. Mount Horrid is living up to its name. Now I gotta backtrack over some heinous and try to find it again. It's an adventure. There's a trail on the left, and there's me. And there is the path of all the other poor suckers who've done the same thing. Alrighty, so this hateful mess right here is the elevation I just came up, and oh goody, look at that, it gets even steeper. The north has already shown its teeth, for sure. Stopped at the Suckerbrook shelter for a break, and the big old blister on my right foot is filled up again, so I'm gonna have to drain it. Figured I'd show you what that process looks like. So fair warning, if you don't like needles or you don't like sort of gross bodily things, you're gonna wanna skip ahead a little bit. Here's some of the realities of a long distance hike. Alrighty, so there the sucker is. It is not looking cute. First thing I'm going to do, disinfect this clothespin and the area around the blister. And then here comes the really fun part. I gotta stab the thing. Made a hole, and now I gotta get all this liquid crap out of it. There it goes. And let me tell you, that does not feel too great. Somehow made it past the halfway mark without ever getting rained on trail, which is absolutely wild. So I'm headed over Abe and Ellen, which are both 4,000 foot peaks today. I've kind of linked up with a couple other hikers, which is really cool. Went from like total solitude to linking up with some really cool folks. And I think we're probably gonna stay at the same shelter again tonight. And then I am probably catching a ride with them into Waitsfield tomorrow. That's the update. And keeping on in the drizzle here. Well, one positive thing about this rain is that for the first time, I get to wear my impeccably stylish rain kilt. Crushing the fashion game out here. The story with the rain kilt is that I hate rain pants with a flaming passion. I was reading a bunch of thru-hiking forums and I discovered that rain skirts are a thing and they look ridiculous, but it's amazing. 10 out of 10 if you hate rain pants but want some sort of comparable alternative. Rain kilt is where it's at, I'm telling you. Plus you look amazing. You look so stylish. And really, what's more important than that on trail? If you can't be the best, look the best. Am I right? Yeah. I'm choosing to believe that the universe is looking out because I got you this tiny little sign kiosk thing literally right as the heavens unleashed. Sick. Alright, so I'm starting to climb up Abe. I just talked to a day hiker who said that the massive cloudburst slash little thunderstorm that just came through wasn't predicted and that it's supposed to be clear all afternoon. And because it's Vermont, it's been maybe 15 minutes since that cloudburst ended and it's already sunny again. So I feel good about heading up, going somewhere between 7 and 9 miles to get to a high altitude shelter up on Ellen. Up on top of Mount Abe, turned into a beautiful day. Got Lake Champlain out there and the Adirondack Mountains in New York. My little video camera died up on top, but I had to break my phone out to film this because I just ran into a college roommate. Oops, sorry. Talking to a camera. Don't mind me. I'm up on top of Lincoln Peak in between Abe and Ellen. So I just came from right there. And I'm going yonder. And I still can't get over the fact that I ran into a college housemate. Beautiful day. I don't know where the heck the trail goes. But I'm gonna appreciate the view for a hot sec and then try and figure it out. I got to stay solo last night at this incredibly cool Glen Ellen Lodge built in the 1930s, 1933. It's a beautiful morning. I would like to linger here, but I'm going to meet some trail friends for a ride into Waitsfield. And as much as I'd like to linger in this beautiful spot, I'd also really love to get some breakfast. Mad River Glen, ski if you can. The trail is literally just a cliff. I don't know if you can see, but there's more rungs bolted in there. I just came down that. Apparently I'm competing in a Spartan race this morning. Who knew? I'm sitting here eating dinner, and I figured I might as well do a little vlogging as to what my Waitsfield resupply is looking like. It's looking a little unconventional as compared to what I had in mind. I was going to stay at this place called the Swanson Inn, which apparently is very hiker friendly. Failed to account for the fact that I was coming through Waitsfield, which is a very picturesque, popular town, on 4th of July weekend. So I saw someone posted in the app Far Out about a mom who decided to dip her toes in trail angeling for the first time this year. And I was like, well, I have no other options. I'm going to give this a shot. It all actually worked out super well. I'm now camped out in the backyard of a woman I just met. She is off somewhere an hour away acting in a play. I'm just chilling in her backyard, eating some dinner. My tent's there. July 4th, just hopped back on the trail, and this is what the trail is doing immediately, right off the bat. Oh, northern Vermont, gotta love it. Up and away. Currently approaching Burnt Rock Mountain, which apparently gets very adventurous. There was literally a warning sign back at the last shelter about it, and it's the first section of trail that's had its own warning sign. And I gotta stop recording right now because I gotta do a little rock climbing. Yahoo! What I am very curious to know is for how long this train continues. Beautiful view up here on top of Burnt Rock, and it's really cool because you can see out there that's Lincoln Mountain and Sugar Bush and I think Mad River, if I'm not totally mistaken. So that's where I came over and down 2 days ago. Well, that was the first time I had to stash the poles. That was definitely a scramble if I ever saw one. Just come down this ladder that's kind of just hanging out in space over this cliff. And all I want to know is how the heck my trail friend Yukon got her medium-sized dog down this thing. And the whole previous stretch for that matter. Alright, today is Camel's Hump Day. There's like a 95% chance of rain starting later today and thunderstorms. 30 minutes into walking and the poles are already stashed. We're going straight up. And that's where I'm headed this morning. The hump.
Have a lovely day.
Yeah, you as well. I can already feel the weather coming in, so I gotta be quick. I wish I could stay beautiful up here, but I do not want to come down this thing in a torrential rainstorm. We've got Lake Champlain and the Adirondack in the distance. The airport that I flew into to get out here. This whole ridge line behind me, which is what I've come over these past few days. Abe, Lincoln, Ellen, all of that, and then out in the distance north. The big peak is Mansfield, which I'm going to be going over in a day or two if all goes to plan. I've got to get down because I do not want to get caught in this storm. Seeing the Burlington airport reminded me that when I was flying in, I could see all these peaks that I've been going over, and I remember thinking, well, if all goes well, I'll be on top of those in a little bit, and it almost feels a little surreal to now be up here, down from Camel's Hump. Yoo! Now for a 3-mile road walk, accompanied by the dulcet sounds of Interstate 89. Onwards. Well, the road walk turned into kind of actually a cool walk through pasture land. Fortunately, it wasn't the most relaxing for me because when I was on the road, the same car passed me 3 times, which freaked me out. They were probably lost, but it was a little disconcerting. I just spotted my trail friend, Ari, up ahead. He's not far ahead of me. Number 89. Driven this road so many times, never knew the long trail came by it, and I'm right. There's a big climbing crag up here behind me. Send it, bro! I'm not having a good time today. It rained the entire night straight, and I know because I was awake the entire night, and I've got like 2,000 feet of elevation gain for the first half of the day in the rain. In other news, the hiker hunger has set in for real. I doubled my dinner portions for this section. I ate 4 servings of mashed potatoes according to the bag. So I've been hearing this really disconcerting noise through the trees, and I was really starting to get freaked out because I couldn't place it at all. I looked on my GPS and there's a firing range somewhere over yonder. Today's not really been my day. I don't have much to add here. Sometimes thru hiking just sucks. This piece of beef jerky looks like the state of Vermont. Where am I on this piece of beef jerky? I'm probably, somewhere around there. Yep. Well, machine gun noise finally stopped just in time to enjoy lunch from the shelter with the best view that I've seen so far on the trail. Check it out. I just hit 200 miles! Yoo! 200 miles. Yeah! 73 more to go. Feels pretty surreal. It's amazing to summit peaks along the trail and see just how far you've come. At each new vantage, I could see the whole serpentine ridgeline I'd already hiked, stretching far off into the distance until it was nothing but a hazy smudge. Impossibly far, and yet there I was, having put all those miles behind me. I woke up one day, put on a ridiculously heavy pack, and then just kept putting one foot in front of the other, even when it sucked. But it's a unique kind of suck. Though it may make you miserable, it also makes you very alive. It is so stinking cool up here. So first I'm headed over to those TV towers, and then drop down, and then up to the top. Well, that was a lovely time up on top of Mansfield. The best weather you could ask for hiking. Somebody shared some sips of a heady topper with me. Fantastic. 10 out of 10. Now descending all the way down to Smuggler's Notch. And then way up the other side. Camp tonight. About 7 more miles to go with a lot of gain. And loss still on the horizon. The trail is a gift. It offers the opportunity to slip out of your world and into a new one. On the long trail, you enter a world of freedom and unity. You enter a world of instant understanding with your fellow hikers. You enter a world of deep connection to natural spaces and rhythms. You enter a world of adversity and resilience. Sometimes it takes entering a new world to more clearly see what you want out of the one you left behind. The long trail is a path through the wilderness, but for me, it was also a path toward a rebirth of sorts.
Though I didn't realize it in the moment, the trail was grabbing me by the shoulders and giving me a shake. It was saying, "Listen, Sand, you don't come out and do something like this when you're content with the mundane." It was telling me that my day-to-day life back home just wasn't cutting it anymore. That previous phase of my life was wonderful for a time, and I'm immensely grateful for it. But the long trail said, it's time for a new season of life. Go out there and get it.
Well, I am back on the trail after my final resupply. Feels pretty remarkable to know that I've almost walked the full length of the state at this point. Looking at the map when I started, I kind of thought, there's no way. There's no way, it just seems so far. For almost a month it's been hike all day, get into camp exhausted, make camp, make dinner, go to bed, get up and do it all over again. And in 3 days it's gonna be over. Part of me is incredibly excited for that. And part of me knows that's also gonna be really difficult.
The days were long, but the weeks were short. The trail was grueling and slow, and it was also over too soon. And though I didn't know it then, it crystallized the quiet but insistent desire to move back across the country to my home state of Vermont. Stopped in for a very short break at the very cute round top shelter, and I have a shout out in the logbook. It's from my trail friends, Blisters and Yukon, and then their dogs, Gizzy and Tilly. It's fun to be able to keep track of trail friends through the logbooks. One thing that's been so cool about this experience is how the trail basically turns into a giant game of telephone. Stories get passed up and down, northbound, southbound. Even when you're hiking solo, you're all connected by the same path through the woods. There's this motto in Vermont, which is freedom and unity. And I really feel like the long trail kind of embodies that. There's so much freedom when you're out here, especially solo. You have the power to shape your own days. There's also the unity of being on the same path as other people. And we're all out here for different reasons, but we're all sharing a common experience in a lot of ways. Not quite as elegant as the old classic metal buckets, but definitely more efficient. Let me tell you, when you grow up in Vermont, you cannot abide by fake syrup. I will not tolerate it. I have arrived at Devil's Gulch. Coming through Devil's Gulch, I half expect to see Sam and Frodo come around the next bend any minute now. That's the spine that I've been traveling across the past few days, and the biggest point you can see is Mount Mansfield. It is pretty wild to see how far I've traveled just in the past week alone.
It is so wild to think that if all goes to plan, this will be the last full day of walking. Tomorrow's gonna be a big day, but at the end of it, I'm gonna get in a car instead of a sleeping bag. And it's kind of hard to process. I think we're gonna be in for some pretty wild weather today. Well, there was absolutely no way I was gonna make it to the end of the long trail without getting poured on at least once. Couldn't film the worst of it because my camera's not waterproof, but it was coming down and it's probably gonna keep cycling through big storm bursts all day. Well, we just got a third round of torrential downpour just for good measure, the most intense burst so far. I was coming down off of a rise over rocks and roots and mud, winds blowing, raining torrentially. My hip belt popped open. That was about the worst feeling in the world because the hip belt is critically important to carry the weight of the pack. I am really hoping it holds on for tomorrow. We're also got to head over J and do 11 miles with no hip belt. Long trail is not going to let me go without a little bit of spiciness, but I wouldn't expect anything less. Summit of J Mountain, last big peak on the last day. And I got here just as the clouds and the fog lifted. I really cannot believe my luck on this adventure. I've gotten views off of every single 4,000 foot peak. Pretty wild. Well, you can't stay on the summit forever. So why go? Just this. What is above knows what is below, but what is below does not know what is above. There's an art of conducting oneself in the lower regions by the knowledge of what one has found up above. Butchered that, but you get the gist. Time to head to Canada. North J Pass, the last road crossing. 2.6 miles to the Canadian border. Oh, this feels so strange. A mile away from a line in the trees between two countries. 1 mile. I did it. This is probably anticlimactic. I don't have much to say right now, besides the fact that I think the person who walked into the woods a month ago in Massachusetts is not quite the same person who's here at the border. Well, In the words of Forrest Gump, I'm pretty tired. Think I'll go home now.